I would like to say I have an idea what's going to happen, but I don't. And I also think if you want to go deeper in this, the X factor of the X factor is definitely Graham Mertz. Well, Florida and Utah, they play on Thursday night, and I really don't feel like or even think I should have to sit up here and hype up this video, because if you're not hyped for this Florida and Utah game, I don't think you're a fan of college football. This will be one of the best. I'm going to say it right now on Tuesday. This is going to be one of the best and craziest games of week one. It was crazy last year, and we have no reason to not believe it's not going to be crazy again this year. And as much as I've ragged on Florida all throughout the offseason, I think they're going to put up a good fight, and wouldn't be shocked if they win this game. Now, first things first, before we go any farther, and I meant to start the video by saying this, but sometimes things don't go as planned. Florida, we're counting on you. We're rooting for you. Some of you may be confused by that. Yo, Matt, who's we? And we is the SEC. Or what's the correct grammar? Was that right? We is the SEC or we are the SEC? I don't know. You get the point. Please to Billy Napier. Please to that Florida program and staff. Please to everybody involved with Florida. Don't embarrass us. If you want to be mediocre during SEC play, sure, go right ahead. But against Utah, we need you to show up and show out. I can't speak for every SEC fan, but for me at least, I am heavily rooting for Florida. I would love to see them go into a hostile, and yes, that's right, I'm calling it and labeling it, a hostile environment in Utah and upset them. And let's call it what it is. It would be an upset, but here's the part of this game I think a lot of people, they're missing. I think most people out here, I'd say at least 60-65% of you watching this video, you think Utah's just going to have an easy win. But I beg to differ, and I strongly disagree. We're going to talk all about that game in this video, and also we're going to talk about one other game that's on Thursday night that I think a lot of people, they're forgetting about, and that's Nebraska and Matt Rhule. They play Minnesota. Nebraska football just fascinates me so much because they sell out every single game. They got a huge fan base, and they straight up suck. It's a weird concept because most teams out here, when they suck, fans don't watch them play. But for Nebraska, it couldn't be any more the opposite. But hey, it's a new year, new head coach, and Nebraska finally got rid of that bum in Scott Frost. I told you ever since you hired him, he was a bum, and Nebraska fans just didn't want to listen to me. Now you got Matt Rhule, and personally, I'm a fan of Matt Rhule. I like him. I think he's going to bring a lot of good things to the table, but can they beat Minnesota? I don't know. Let's talk about it. We ain't doing no intro, none of that. I ain't got time for that, baby. I got a busy day on my hands. I know you guys are busy as well. So I say, you know what? Normally we'd put off the main topic until the end. But let's switch it up. Let's start out with the Florida and Utah game. And at the end of this video, we'll talk about Nebraska and Minnesota. Well, first things first, let's look at the line for the game. I believe it's something, last time I checked, it was like Utah's a 7-point favorite. They play at 7 p.m. And currently, as when I'm speaking, this can go up about half a point to a point. Normally, it doesn't change too much, and I don't think it will. Utah is a 6.5-point favorite. Let's start out with this first things first. Home field advantage. Last year, Florida had the home field advantage. They was in the swamp, one of the hardest places to play in. This year, they got to go to Utah, and I think a lot of people don't actually realize this. Utah has a, shall I say, SEC environment? I don't know, that may be pushing it, but I will say it's definitely up there. I'll put it this way. When you think of a typical Pac-12 home game, Utah's an oddball out. They go above and beyond, and their fan base is crazy. So I definitely think they're going to have a slight home field advantage there, and that could play into things. But also, let's address this. I think most people out here don't even know this information. It's up in the air if Cam Rising, the quarterback for Utah, the star quarterback, if he's even going to play. If he doesn't play, if I'm a Utah fan, me personally, I am highly concerned. Cam Rising is Utah. He embodies everything they're about. Physical, hard-nosed. He's not going to slide after a 5 or 6 yard run. No, he's going to run through you. I think that's the best way to describe it. Cam Rising, he's Utah. He's the soul of that team. Well, if he doesn't go, not only is that going to affect the offense, but it's going to affect the entire mojo of the team. It's just something about it. Not having your star player, it affects everybody. And if you played sports, you know this. If you have your star player and your star quarterback, everyone's going to believe. But if you don't have them, some doubt's going to creep in. So pay attention to that. And also, we need to talk about this. Even if Cam Rising can go, how healthy is he? Is he going to be 50% or is he going to be 90%? There's a huge difference. So who knows about that? On the Utah offensive side of the ball, there's a big question mark. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't really think there's a question mark. You know what you're going to get out of Utah's defense. Physical play. Are they a great defensive team? Nah, not really, but they're good enough. Utah's secondary is all right, but what concerns me for Utah is the front seven. I think right now, Florida's offensive line and defensive line is better than Utah's. And I also believe, and we'll get to Florida in just a second, they're going to attack that. Similar to last year, Florida knows they have the better running game, and they're going to utilize that. It worked last year, and with a new quarterback, why wouldn't you do it again? I wouldn't be shocked if Graham Mertz only attempts about 20 passes in this game. So all in all at Utah, I really think we know somewhat of what we're going to get. You got a decent defense. They can be good at times, and they also can be bad, and your offense is normally pretty good, especially if Cam Rising's back there. With all that being said about Utah, I think the biggest X factor and the biggest wild card in this game is Florida's offense and the Florida team in general. And I know that's weird because normally when you're talking about an X factor, it's one person or maybe two players. But no, I think the entire Florida team, especially the offense, is the X factor. I think everybody's in the same boat on this. We don't know what to expect out of Florida. I'm going to give you a brief example. If somebody today told me, hey man, I think Florida's going to score 38 points against Utah, I could hear them out. Vice versa, if somebody also told me today, I think Florida is only going to score 6 points against Utah, I could also hear them out. I wouldn't be shocked if Florida scores as little as 3 points or as high as 40 points. I wouldn't. I would like to say I have an idea what's going to happen, but I don't. And I also think if you want to go deeper in this, the X factor of the X factor is definitely Graham Mertz. Eventually, I like to assume after Florida runs the ball down their throats a couple of times, and I do think Florida is going to see a lot of success in the run games, I think eventually, and I hope that Utah would put about 7 or 8 in the box to stop the run. They're going to make Graham Mertz beat them. Well, here's a question. Can Graham Mertz beat Utah? I don't know. I tell you this much. If I had a bet on it, I'd say he couldn't. I'm not confident in Graham Mertz. That don't mean I don't think he's capable of, because yes, I think he's more than capable of beating Utah. I think he's more than capable of making some big time throws and good plays. But am I confident in saying that? No, I'm not. All in all, I think it's going to come down to this. Whose quarterback plays better? The quarterback that plays better in this game, Florida and Utah, that team's going to win. If it's Cam Rising or whoever's back there for Utah, they play better than Graham Mertz, then Utah's going to win. On the other side of the ball, if Graham Mertz goes out there and he's 19 for 24, 260 yards, couple of touchdowns, maybe only 1 INT or 0, then Florida's going to win. Because I know Florida has enough run support to where Graham Mertz doesn't have to be a superhero. But at the same time, he can't sit back there and do nothing. He's going to have to make some plays. And it's the same thing for Utah's quarterback. Utah's not good enough just to run the ball against Florida. That won't happen. Cam Rising, or like I said, whatever quarterback's back there is going to have to make some big time plays. At the end of the day, though, I can't pick a team that I'm not confident in. And I'm just not confident in the Florida Gators. I'm not. I don't know what to expect. However, with Utah, even if Cam Rising isn't back there, I still know somewhat of what I'm going to get. And also, I should talk about this more. I just completely forgot about it. But Utah, from a physicality standpoint, they match up with Florida pretty dang well. They're going to match up with Florida just as good as your Tier 2 SEC teams like a Mississippi State, like a Ole Miss, teams like that. Utah's a similar brand and play style to the SEC. I'm taking Utah to win this game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to say 28-21 Utah. I like that score. Don't think it's going to be a shootout, so 28-21. I hope Florida pulls out the upset. I'm rooting for them, but don't see it happening. Let me know your thoughts on the Florida game. Last but not least, real briefly before we end out this video, let's talk about Nebraska and Minnesota. Does anybody actually care about this game? I don't know, but here's what I'll tell you. I love watching Nebraska lose. It's so funny to me. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. There's nothing funnier than watching Nebraska sell out their stadium, have 100,000 people go to their games, and they lose like 31-3. It's just so comical to me and so entertaining. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that. Let me pull up the game, though, right here. I don't even know what the line is. I assume Nebraska's going to be favored. They're playing Minnesota. Minnesota's not that good. Oh, wait a minute. My apologies. Minnesota is a 7-point favorite. And I already know somebody's going to run to the comment section. Matt, what do you mean Minnesota's not that good? What'd they go last year? Weren't they like 9-4? Look, man, 9-4 in the Big Ten. Get out of here. You put Minnesota in the SEC, they're going 6-6, 7-5, so they're mediocre. I'll give you mediocre, and if you want to say Minnesota's maybe good, whatever, I'll agree with you on that. My point is, when I say Minnesota ain't that good, I mean like they're not a top 25 or top 20 team. So calm down, but Minnesota's 7-point favorite. Interesting. So for those of y'all who don't know, Nebraska got the new head coach, Matt Rule. They got a new quarterback. It's almost a fresh and brand new look. And as much as I said I don't know what to expect out of Florida, I have no clue what to expect out of Nebraska. Don't know. I want to believe in Matt Rule, but I got to see at least a small sample size of something. We know Nebraska, they're going to score a lot of points. It's the defense. Can defense stop anybody? Don't know. Fortunately enough for Nebraska, Minnesota isn't a high-powered offense like a USC or Ohio State or even a Michigan. And with that being said, I got Nebraska outscoring Minnesota. I think Nebraska is going to win this game in the high 40s. I'm going to say Nebraska upsets Minnesota 45-31. I like that. I'm pulling the upset. Matt Rule, don't make me look dumb. Nebraska, I don't even know if I've ever picked you to win a game ever on the history of my channel, so don't disappoint me. That's all I got to say about that game. I am extremely curious, so let me know your thoughts on the Florida and Utah game down below. But, Romany!